Hey folks, what's going on? Welcome to next episode of the Coach Gav podcast. Looking less homeless today. Big shout out to Janet in Eyelashes who has cut my hair, I would say comfortably 95% of my haircuts in my life I've had done down there. And I suppose the more I think about it, like, the reason I go there is in business and in sales, they call it like the know, like, trust, the three things you need for people to buy with it. It's why, Apple does so well, or why people always buy the same brand of car and things like that, where, they know it, they like it, they trust it, they know it's going to work. That's why I go there. I know them, I like them, I trust that they're going to do what I want them to do, done well. I've gone to other hairdressers and they've absolutely butchered it. All these factors, and it's such a basic thing, and it makes sense because why would you go somewhere or do something that you don't trust that it's going to be a good fit? Why would you shop somewhere that you don't trust is good value or you can get what you want? I remember for ages, like, you'd hear stories of people like doing their food shop in different places. They'd get some stuff here and some stuff there, and you're like, okay, on one hand it's good because you get what you want to get, but then on another hand you're like, that's really inefficient to do that. And even now, I was on a workshop today with Paul Mort, who I've mentioned probably a bazillion times and who I'll mention probably a bazillion times more. And one of the reasons why I try and keep going back to different workshops that Paul would have, or different things again, is I have a know, like, trust factor with him. That I know him, I know his business, I know his coaching, I like it, I trust it, I know it works. To which I had a previous, in the job minute at the moment, we were linked up with kind of coaching as well for a while, and I discussed it as well, and she was like, I had mentioned him so much, she went and checked him out, and she's like, she goes, I actually don't think his style is the style you need. And I'll be honest, it got my back up, because I was like, well, fuck you. I was like, because I know myself that when I've done Paul's work, it works. And the only reason why any of his advice or planning never worked was because it was down to my effort. And that's not me trying to protect him. That's me trying to reflect out to other people that that's where things go awry for people. Initially there's the whole, all right, will it work, will it work, will it work? And then when you try it, you're like, okay, well, what he's advising and what we're planning is working. So then the next time he gives more advice, there's more trust with it. And what we're trying to get across the whole episode today is the content I'm creating, the YouTube videos, the podcasts, things like that. It's not going to go viral. No one's going to latch onto a clip of a nearly 39-year-old father of four, soon to be grandfather of one, with a gammy eye, and be like, oh my god, it's taken the world by storm. It's to consistently build up a genuine level of knowing, liking, trusting, and that other people who they'll be able to look at what I offer and be like, that solves the problem I have. And again, I have a goal by 4-40, so December 1st of next year, to have built up my coaching business, my coaching platform, to a sustainable, impactful level. And so this is where this is all going. And that's why I like the longer form stuff, because it allows me to provide, content with context that will lead on to conversation. And one of the things we discussed on the workshop today was about delegation. Now, delegation is nothing new, and today we spoke about it in relation to, say, business. And one of the things I always enjoy doing is how do I relate what I'm currently listening to or currently going through to my scenario and to what I want to do. And I was like, what can I delegate at home? What can I delegate as a husband? What can I delegate as a father? What can we delegate as families to free up our time and to buy back time? And then with that time we have back, how can we repurpose and reuse that to get a greater lifestyle ultimately? And I had that thought, and I was like, you know what? And by the time this podcast goes live, it will have happened. I said, well, myself and Yolanda will sit down and we're like, right, what do we need to do every day and every week as a family? And start filling in our calendar. And what can I delegate to her that I no longer need to do? And that's not a, how dare you tell your wife what to do? No, it's what can I delegate to her that A, she enjoys doing, B, she's better at it than I am, and C, what can I delegate that will free me up to do some of the stuff she doesn't like doing but also needs to be done. I fill the car, I fill the oil tank, I do the fire, I collect the oil. The more I list these off, it does sound like kind of me Tarzan, she Jane, but it's not. It's just naturally that's where we align up on it. At the weekends, I'll do more of the cooking than she would. So maybe start looking and thinking, well, how can delegation be a tool for you to improve your life, like instantly? Like, there's a way for me to sit down and to be like, right, how can I figure out what's going on and to get there with it? Now, there was other things that we discussed today that I'll probably cover in later topics and that kind of stuff. And a lot of it is impactful. So earlier on this week, myself and Mila mitched off school. And that's my first time to skip school, like ever. I've never had a day for school where I was supposed to be in that I didn't skip. And it was with really good reason. So through a little bit of detective work, we met. So this is being filmed mid-November. Springboks play in Dublin this weekend. And we're a Springbok family. But you're Irish, Gavin. How does that work? Because I had no connection to Irish rugby, Leinster rugby, or anything growing up. At the time, rugby was a sport of people who had money, who were posh, who went to private schools, all that stuff. Things that I couldn't relate to, couldn't connect to, and never appealed to me. There was that no-like trust factor wasn't there. And started dating Yolanda. She was big in it. I was like, oh, okay, well, and I like watching sport. So we threw it on, and I was like, oh, this is really good. They're really enjoyable. Then, the more we watched it, the more we enjoyed it. Then I watched a show they had out called Chasing the Sun. It was a behind-the-scenes documentary on one of the World Cup winning seasons for the Springboks. Fantastic stuff. And as all these documentaries do, they showed the team and the players in a pretty honest light, I think, but also in a very favourable light as well. And Springbok rugby, now I suppose Mila is half South African as well, just Springbok rugby just appeals to me in terms of it's quite humble. You work hard, you work honest, you get your opportunity, and it just snowballed from there. And we are like, I will build when the URC calendar comes out in August. I'll straight away in my diary, when are the Stormers on, what times are they, what matches have they got in Ireland for us to go to, all these things about it. So through a bit of digging work, I managed to find out where the Springboks were based in Dublin for training this week. And I was like, you know what? That'd be a pretty cool memory, being able to go and bring Mila up, have her hopefully see them, give them a wave, and if we were really lucky, get a picture or two with them. and like all of the stars aligned for us. Rasmus, head coach, came over. 90% of the players waved at her, or at least gave her a big smile and that. And then again, probably 80% of them came over to her, shook her hand, and then a few of the lads came over and stopped for pictures. And it was maybe 5 minutes, and it was glorious. And it's a memory I'll bring with me for the rest of my life. Bring with me to my deathbed. And it was absolutely, and that's kind of what it is for me. And that's what all this is about. I'm getting back into coaching, and I'm really pushing on with this, so I have more flexibility with my time, so I can be at home and be a more present father for Freya, for Mila, for even for Rachel and Shan, as much as they need it. And the point of my coaching program will be to help other parents, be in a better position physically, mentally, emotionally, so that they have more enjoyable lives with their partners, with themselves, with their families and kids. I understand not everyone can trade off, their full-time job or a part-time job. I mean, and it's not a decision I've made lightly. Um, you know, but that's kind of where the goal is with it, to allow it, so that they are creating more memories and more moments. Now, I'm not saying we all need to go meet the Springboks or whatever, but to be able to go and do that stuff, I want to bring the girls to Old Trafford, and to experience that. And then, little things, being able to take them out for hot chocolates, being able to drop them to school, pick them up from school. I take a lot of pride in being a present father and being an active father in it. And even then to support Yolanda in whatever she wants to do with it. So, but a funny thing about our Springbok Day, while that day peaked with a lifetime memory, it started with an absolute drag-out brawl. I kept it a surprise because, I'm a firm believer that kids are operate on a need-to-know basis, and Mila didn't need to know. And again, loops all back to this know-like-trust factor I mentioned earlier. I needed Mila to trust that what Daddy was saying was going to be right. She got got her dressed for school, and then was like, right, do you want to go to school today, or would you rather go on a surprise trip with Daddy? And I now realise, I was like, I shouldn't have said that, because it overwhelmed her with the choice. She knows school, she likes school, she trusts school in terms of it's an enjoyable day. Her friends are there. Wednesday they had track and they had Lego day and this kind of stuff. And so her fear was missing out on that and picking something that she didn't know what it was. So I should have said nothing. So we had a good argument. Anyone that saw the school drop off, because I got pissy. And I said to her, it was fine. If she wanted to go to school, there was no problem. She then was like, well, I don't want to miss out. I'm paraphrasing here now. She didn't want to miss out on the surprise. I said, darling, if you go to school, Daddy's just going home. I was off on Wednesday. I wasn't going to go to Dublin and meet them without her, because that would just be a really shitty thing to do as a parent. Especially when you know something means so much to your children. And if you did that thing, well, it doesn't mean go to Harry Potter Studios without Freya. That's a real asshole thing to do. Or to buy, go to New York without Yolanda. She'd probably, never mind divorce me. She wouldn't divorce me. She'd stay with me and just try and make my life misery to make up for it. She loves going over there. But anyways, it overwhelmed Mila. We all got out, and then I had to calm down. I was like, look, relax. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about trying to settle my daughter down. And I gave her, lots of hugs, lots of cuddles, lots of carries. I was like, hey, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be A-okay. And then when we got up there, it was great. And we had a fantastic day. So we've spoken many times before how things aren't exclusive. You can have a great day with bad moments in it. You can have a bad day with great moments or good moments in it. And so being more accepting and aware of that as we go through life is seriously important, and more so seriously empowering. That you don't have to. Kids see things very black and white. We as adults can operate in the grey. Again, at Freya's age now, a teenager, she's able to operate in the grey of understanding it's a combo platter. Your day is made up of good and bad, steps forward, steps back. And it's not always, straight up like that. It's up and down as you go with it. And maybe, kind of look at that when you're dealing with your kids. If, like myself, you're butting heads and you're clashing, and it's causing friction. Like, I honest to God think we are putting far too high an expectation on children nowadays. We have, and Mila she's quite mature. I suppose every parent says that about it, but she is. Like, we see, like, when she's good, she's great, but when she's bad, she's borderline criminal. So yeah, to wrap it up, what can you delegate in your life at home? Maybe even in work. Is there things you're doing in work that you can delegate off to free you up, not to DOS, but to do things you're better skilled at? And I'm going to come back to this because I had an example previously in Tesco when I was working there. What can you free up? What can you delegate to free yourself up so that you can do things you're better at, or do things you enjoy more? And then also, if, like us, you are kind of clashing with the kids, pause for a second, try and put yourself in their shoes, and ask yourself the question: are we expecting too much? Are we being unreasonable? And I know sometimes with me and Yolanda, it's not. There's a big difference between being tough and being unreasonable with them. I'm tough on them because I don't want her to grow up. I don't want any of my girls to grow up to be little shitheads. But again, so you need to understand that how much of the message you're trying to get through currently will that actually get through, or are you just banging a drum and it's just making noise as opposed to helping get the message across? Right, folks, I will catch you in the next one.